You know who made it. Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to RickCast, episode 147. I hope everybody's having a good Thursday. I am. Just got back from watching Superman. That review is now up on RickCast Reviews. Um, got tonight with Stevie Cunningham. Got news from the Pew coming up in a little bit. So this episode's probably not going to be as long as usual. I want to be able to catch my breath between the shows, so we'll probably cut it off a little earlier today, but we still have topics to talk about. The first one is going to be looks like the I will talk about Superman's gonna be the entertainment section. I will give you my thoughts on it. If you don't want to wait that long, it was good. My grading system is good, indifferent, or bad, and it's good. It's not very good, it's good, but I'll get into that later on in the program. So there's a story coming out from the Post Millennial, and it says, well, the DOJ is still working on Epstein Files, guys. The DOJ is still working. It's still reviewing Epstein records for possible release, which I guess shows that this story isn't going to get buried as quickly as I thought it was. Call me wrong on this one. I thought that was going to be an open and shut case. Like, hey, guys, guess what? Shut your mouth, move on. I guess the pressure was too much from the MAGA faithful and anybody else to say, nope, you are getting the list. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they're just throwing this out there as red meat to calm down the crazies. I don't know. We'll take a look at it. Second story, interesting story, kind of just came across the newswire. Ken Paxton's wife is divorcing him. Little weird. Little weird. I don't know. I don't pay attention to Ken Paxton's personal life or the political life. She is a senator in the Texas legislature, so that's kind of like a little shocking to people because she announced it. I'll stop saying like I don't want to sound as if I am a 12-year-old girl. She just announced it on her official page saying, I'm getting divorced after 38 years of marriage. Weird, because Ken Paxton is running he's running against John Cornyn for his seat. So that's interesting. We'll take a look at that as well. And then finally, I'll give you my Superman review. I got 2 warm-up backs for you. It's going to be a good night. RickCast, no matter what goes on, even if it's recorded like it will tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a recorded show, but it will be topical. It will be for you guys, and it will be the news of the day, essentially, the best way to put it. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see. Ooh, MAGA bunny, huh? Maybe. Like I said, I know Tony at Current Revolt is working on a piece about Ken Paxton, so I'm eager to see what's happening and what he has to say about it. Of course, now that she announced this, everybody's going to pay attention to it, which is, if you're Ken Paxton, the worst possible news one could get. All right. So let's see here. I don't have any videos because there weren't really any videos to download. Unlike yesterday, we had a plethora and a cornucopia of videos. Not many videos today. So let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen, as I get our share screen fired up. There we go. Right here. I know. You guys come to me because I got my ducks in a row, supposedly. Let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen. First one up for the night. Boom! In case you wanted to know, a bunch of nerds got together and found the 6 things that can make somebody cool. This is a real thing, a real study, real money wasted. Once again, a bunch of nerds at the Journal of Experimental Psychology, the coolest of the cool kids, did an experiment with 6,000 people. Dr. Elsby Ritchie, I guess that's how you'd say their name, chair of the psychiatry at MedStar Washington Hospital Center, a hangout of the cool kids, said it was interesting what traits that make someone cool were seen around the globe. First of all, using the word cool does not mean you are cool. We have not used the word cool in that context in about 10 years. So I'm glad to see science is way behind the ball on that one. Also, once you hit 40 and you sail past 40, which I am on the other side, it doesn't matter. I don't care about being cool. You know why? Because there's absolutely nothing I can do to make myself cool. I'm old by default. I'm not hip. I'm not with it. So it's okay. All right. They find the same traits are associated with being cool in all cultures that they looked at. Shows common characteristics, as they say, from Singapore, Sweeney, to San Francisco. All have similar creative techniques. And because it was a worldwide study, the fact they found similar results everywhere they conducted this experiment, they say suggests that the quote meaning of the word cool has crystallized on similar set of values and traits around the globe. So I guess it's not having an iPhone. What are the 6 traits? The crazy thing is this article doesn't tell you the 6 traits of being cool. So just that's not cool. Anyway, being extroverted, which basically means you're interested in other people, you talk with other people, you approach them. Hedonistic, which means you're interested in pleasure. That's not great. And it's often pleasure for yourself. Even worse. Being powerful, being adventurous, being open, and autonomous. And that means basically being able to do things on your own. These are some of the most generic traits. I'm adventurous. What the hell does that mean? I'm open and autonomous. What are you, a robot? All this stuff, it's just generic psychiatry talk that people just don't realize. The study said that these are things that you're either born with or not. And blah, 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 blah. They try to say, well, if you're not any of these things, you can still be cool too. Who cares? I don't care about being cool. Neither should you. Trying to appease other people is a losing effort. And it's just lame that they actually spent money on something as foolish and silly as this. All right. Yeah, it is. It's 100% psychobab. It's psychobabble for psychobabble, Lou. You are 100% correct on that. ChatGPT does everything, so I can't hate on that. I think you're cool too, Dean. So do I, buddy. You and me and your mom think you're cool. There's a joke in there that nobody's going to say. Leave it alone. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to our next. Sorry. Let's move on to our next story, our next warm-up act here of the night. No. Where am I? Put me back on the full screen. I messed it up. Anyway, second story of the night. Interesting here. President Trump will invoke a presidential authority to fast track U.S. weapon shipments to Ukraine. Anybody else tired of winning? I thought we were supposed to get out of that war, but apparently now that you've elected Trump the second time, it's like getting the guy to sleep with you. Now that the guy sleeps with you, he doesn't care anymore. He's going to give all the weapons to Ukraine. I know he said something like, doesn't mean you can't give defensive weapons, blah, blah, blah. And little Marco's out there running around. No, you're giving weapons because you want the military industrial complex needs weapons to be sold to the Ukrainians because they got to sell them to somebody. So good to see. Yes, it's exactly what we all voted for, Lou. Give more weapons to Zelensky. That's fantastic. More World War III for us. Sounds great. But yeah, I got nothing to say about that because that's just, it's another, what are you going to do? The deep state's going to deep state. The military industrial complex is going to military industrial complex. So you can either get mad at it or just say, okay, it's fine, whatever, and just move on with it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, I'm going to move through these stories a little quicker than normal because I want to actually have some energy for news from the pew tonight. Nah, at this point, is there any difference, Brian? That's the question. Is there any difference between a Kamala And Donnie, I think there isn't. You could say it's a uniparty, possibly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to our first story. Very interesting story, at least I think it is, because I didn't think we were going to get this far. I thought they were going to bury the story. But from the post-millennial breaking wind, DOJ reports to court that it's still reviewing the Epstein records for a possible release, according to Judicial Watch. This comes days after a leaked internal memo from the DOJ and the FBI said there would be no further public discourse about this guy, Jeffrey Epstein. As you can see, these are all the things that I work on. So the Department of Justice is still reviewing the Jeffrey Epstein related records for possible release, according to a new joint court filing submitted by Judicial Watch for the DOJ. The announcement comes just after leaked internal memo from the DOJ and the FBI said there would be no further public discourse, disclosures, about Epstein. And I can there we go. The whole thing around the Epstein Files is not helping, because this comes in from Rasmussen. Trump's his net approval rating has fallen from +8 to -2. And I think between the bombing in Iran, the Epstein Files, all of these things, I think this has been a bad June and July have been bad months for Trump. And I believe that's we're starting to see this whole thing happening, and despite what some people have been told, and there's apparently, your basic MAGA influencers, quote unquote, are coping by saying, oh, guys, don't worry about it. Don't worry. We're done. The thing's closed. And the FBI, there's rumors that the FBI is contacting influencers and telling them to shut up and move on. It's not a big deal. Don't talk about it anymore. The online discourse, I think they would have accepted the bombings. They would have accepted a lot of things. But the fact that we played it on this show, where Trump was like, the records are there for Epstein, and he said it a couple times, and Cash ran his big fat mouth saying he was going to shut the FBI on day one. He was talking about Epstein killed himself, and there's a video, and there's all these other things. And then Dan Bongino in his super tight shirts were screaming at the TV or at the camera about the FBI is hiding things, and then they get in there and they're like, nope, nothing's here. And it is crazy to see people like Tim Pool and others run cover, not for Epstein, but for their buddies. And I get it. I absolutely get it. You got to run cover for the buddies that you hang out at the parties with. It's that simple. They got to do those things. But even with all of this, there is a potent anger. And you can see it by guys like Poso, Jack Poso, who is Mr. Binder, hanging out with all of it. Look at my binder, guys. Look at my binder. It's going to be on daily human events, blah, 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 blah. And now he's screaming, this is not how you treat the American people, as if he wasn't part of the whole lying process. So I think this memo gets dropped today. So it's like, no. We're still working on it, guys. We're still working on it. Stupid Pam Bondi, Lawn Bunny Bondi shouldn't have opened her mouth. But we that was an unreleased memo. That wasn't final. This isn't. They are running such spin for this right now. They are running such a spin effort on this, and apparently the whole thing comes from the top. The whole thing comes from the top. Trump is a seasoned TV guy. All these people have experience on podcasts and things. I don't know how they thought they were going to be able to maneuver through this entire thing. Anyway, Judicial Watch reveals the July 7th filing, stating that the DOJ and the FBI are continuing to search for and evaluate records tied to Epstein, including materials that could reveal the identities of his clients or associates. So you're saying there's a list. Not that I've always said I don't really care. I've never put a lot of stock into the Epstein stuff, right? Um, for me, the idea that they would actually release it was kind of farcical, no matter who was in charge. But, a lot of people, Alex Jones on down, they have stated that the key to the deep state is revealing the list, getting that list out and exposing everybody. And it's kind of just going, well, okay, that's interesting, but no. Anyway, the update is in direct contradiction to the unsigned and undated memo that was disclosed July 6th, which declared that no further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted. Now, how's Trump going to do this? If they decide to go forward, he'll just say, listen, I was really focused on Texas, and that's why I didn't want to talk about Epstein, but the files are still there. He's despicable. He'll spin it. He'll spin it in about a month. And they'll come back and say, yes, we're still looking at it, guys. We're still looking at it. It really hinges, and I know some of you don't believe me, but it really does hinge on if Bun Bondi or Law Bunny Bondi, if she is forced to fall on the sword. Because it's her big mouth that opened this entire thing up. If she didn't say, the files are sitting on my desk and I'm going to review them, and if she wasn't caught by Judicial Watch telling some lady at brunch, there's thousands of videos out there and it's disgusting, I can't believe it. If she hadn't opened her big fat mouth, people could have asked about, hey, what's the status of the Epstein files? And they could have gotten mad at Bongino and Cash when they're like, with their terrible interviews, when Cash was like, you don't think I would tell you guys the truth? Really? And people are like, yeah, no, you would lie. But this whole thing is just, I turned him into Kermit the Frog. You might as well be Cash the Frog. Judicial Watch filed its Freedom of Information Act in April 2025 after the DOJ failed to respond to 3 separate FOIA requests. The requests are aimed at several DOJ divisions, including the Office of Information Policy, Criminal Division, and 2 separate FBI offices. According to the Joint Status Report, the FBI has completed some searches, but is still reviewing the material. So now it's all about, hey, how are we going to spin this? How are we going to spin this against people? So that's the big thing. It's all backpedaling. The left is yucking it up. They have to be, because, well, there's a lot of people on the left that are kind of confused at this too. So it is very interesting how this whole thing is playing out, and the fact that they're dropping this as an immediate response to the blowback they're getting, which also shows Trump really doesn't have a spine when it comes to these kinds of things. He just wants to be liked. He can't really put his foot down because he's so desperate to be liked that he'll, if he feels like he needs to give him something, he'll give him something. But this is it's interesting how quickly the spin machine is working on overtime on this one, especially considering Trump was so defiant on either Monday or Tuesday. So, it is what it is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, RickCast, like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell, and we will get to our next story of the night. Once again, News from the Pew starts about, what, hour and 20 minutes from now. So stick around, or stick around. And if you can't stick around, then tomorrow morning, or no, tomorrow I'm going to give you another episode of RickCast, but it will be recorded because I have some LTC training to do tomorrow night. But it will be a new show. Make sure your notifications are turned on, because the show will drop at 6 p.m. Central Time, like all the others. It may not be super up to date, but it will be of the events of the day. I'll give you something. I'll throw something at you. Anyway, moving on to our next story of the night from theblaze.com. Ken Paxton's wife files for divorce, and this is just wackadoo left field kind of stuff, citing biblical grounds. So if you don't get a biblical marriage, can you claim biblical grounds? I mean, they're not Catholic, so they didn't really get, not like it's a religious wedding. She should just file on secular grounds because it's a secular wedding. Sorry if that offends people, but if you're not Catholic and you get married, you're not getting married in the Catholic Church. It's not a biblical marriage. It's a secular one. It's a contract. The viability of Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton's campaign for the seat in the U.S. Senate came into question when his wife announced Thursday that she was divorcing him on biblical grounds, which is really uh the just kick in the crotch. She could have done this quietly after he got into office and it would have been fine, right? They could have separated and then like 2 years into a 6-year term, they could have gotten divorced. But once he's in, he's in. Once you're a U.S. Senator, it's an act of God to get rid of you. But the fact that she's doing it now, because if you look at the polls, Paxton has an absolutely commanding lead on John Cornyn, because John Cornyn's a piece of crap. And I mean, not that Ken Paxton's going to be much better, but change is good. But this idea that, yeah, I only saw her initial post. I didn't look at any of the comments underneath it, but anyway. Paxton is challenging the longtime Republican who's been there for 23 years. The revelation prompted Angela Paxton. I don't know what the revelation is, or I guess, is that part of the story? No. The revelation prompted Angela Paxton, who is she is in the Texas Senate, to release this statement on social media because that's where everybody does everything. Quote, I believe marriage is a sacred covenant, and I've earnestly pursued reconciliation. Oh, she's setting up the victim narrative. Well done. But in light of recent discoveries, which I think Dean is 100% correct on that one, I do not believe that it honors God or is loving to myself, my children, or Ken to remain in the marriage, even though if it was a biblical marriage, you would stay in it. Think about this. The Catholic Church, the only one where you would get a biblical marriage. In order to get a divorce, and I am a child of divorce, my parents got divorced in the church. That's just something that happened. The idea is you have to approach your bishop to even consider it. Now, if I'm wrong in the comment section, beat me up and correct me, but you have to approach your bishop to even get permission. It's either your bishop or your priest to even get permission to get a divorce. And that's if you want to do the annulment type thinking. But remember, what's the famous Bible verse? What God has made join, no man can break apart. I know I butchered it. Correct me in the comment section below. But essentially, if it is a biblical marriage that honors God, then you work through it. There is no worldly excuse for breaking a covenant, because the marriage is not just a covenant to your spouse. Your marriage is a covenant to God. And I know a lot of people miss that in their flashy weddings with their $20,000, whatever the case is. And so it's just very strange. And of course, my evangelical brothers and sisters, I love you. I do. I have some very good friends that are. I'm just giving you from my Catholic perspective and why I find it strange. If you're seeing this in a replay and you want to correct me, I'm more than happy to. I'll go back and forth with you in the comments. I'm good with it. But you can't say like biblical, honoring God, honoring this, and then say, yeah, by the way, I'm breaking the covenant I made with you, God. Things got a little inconvenient for me, so I'm going to duck out. I move forward with complete confidence that God is always working everything together for the good of those who love him and who are called according to his purpose. What if he's calling you, Angela, to stay with your husband? Wow. I don't know if she took these wedding vows for good and bad, for better, for worse, sickness and in health, for richer or poorer. This is the bad part you're supposed to be with for whatever you're going through. And every couple has different shades of bad, but we all go through good and bad spells. So it's interesting to see. I'm going to walk with God and according to his purpose. Maybe his purpose was the marriage you were in. Rick, that's really harsh. Listen, man, we don't respect marriage the way we should in this friggin' union. We don't. People want to drop out at the first inkling of trouble. And it sounds like whatever it is. After facing the pressure of countless political attacks and public scrutiny, once again, for better for worse, Angela and I have decided to start a new chapter in our lives. Oh, this is what Ken's writing. I could not be any more proud or grateful to the incredible family that God has blessed me with. Once again, guys, stop bringing God into your mess. Do me a favor. Keep God out your mouths on this one, because this is a human thing. It's not a God thing. And I remain committed to supporting our amazing children and grandchildren. Oh, you got kids and grandkids? You two. First of all, let's have some fun with this. Hold on. Angela Paxton age. How old is Angela Paxton? She was born in 1963. How daggone old does that make her? She was born. Somebody do the math. She was born in 1963 to 2024, 2025. Yes, I'm stupid. So what? 20. Somebody in the chat room did do it for me. No, none of you did. You didn't bail me out on this one. You guys will correct me if I say a word wrong, but you won't help me out. You won't help me out with the math. She's 62. Thank you, Michael. She's 62 years old. What great Googa Mooga are you going to do as a 60? What are you going to go out dating? You're going to go find yourself a younger guy? You're on the back nine. Sorry, am I going to get both you and Ken are on the back nine. You're in your 60s. You may be in a good run, and I pray that you do have a good run. Have 30 years left. That's to 92. You're gonna throw everything away now? Divorce is not a fun thing to do. Rebuilding your life is not a fun thing to do. Especially if you have kids and you have grandkids. It's like, what do you think you're gonna do, Angela? You're gonna be a single grandma? You're going to go hang out with all the other grandmas who have husbands? People think, I'm going to get divorced. We'll hang out all the time, sweetie. You ain't doing that. It ain't happening. Angela Paxton accused her husband of adultery and said that they no longer live together as of June 2024, according to a filing obtained by KUT News. The marriage has become insupportable because of discord or conflict of personalities between the petitioner and the respondent that destroys the legitimate ends of the marriage relationship and prevents any reasonable expectation. Listen, infidelity is awful. It's awful. And I get the human trait of it being unforgivable. I understand that. But there is no more powerful message, at least from a Catholic Christian concern. By the way, cheating is not grounds for divorce in Catholic marriages. Sorry, it's not. It's, you and your spouse are supposed to figure it out. Is there a lot of pain? Is there a lot of hurt? Is there a lot of betrayal? I'm not saying that stuff doesn't exist. But it is time for you guys to say, all right, we've been together for 30 years or 40 years, however stinking many years they were married. She met him at Baylor, and they got married in 86. They got married in 1986, guys. 2025. I can't do basic math. I know, folks. They've been married for 39 years. You've been married for 39 years. You gotta figure it out. Rumors of infidelity to follow Paxton in the past. Oh, it's 38 years, and they have 4 children and 5 grandchildren. I mean, it's one of these things. I don't know, man. There's a lot of things. How many times has she been faithful to our Lord? She has the gumption to hold her male concubine accountable for sleeping around. Nobody's perfect in a marriage. And these situations are awful. These situations are not fun. And as a kid who went through it, it's not great. It's not a lot of fun. It's very difficult to deal with, especially in the human emotions. But guess what? We're called to be bigger. The vocation of marriage is a vocation because it is supposed to be something that you stick with for your entire life. So it is what it is in that regard. And I wish the best to both of them because that's just a terrible, terrible situation. All right. Last story of the night. Because I'm going to cut it early. Not early. Because I got news from the pew in a little bit. It's still 50, almost a 45-minute show. So when I say it's an early night, I say it's an early night. It's still a 45-minute show. All right. Let's get to our last story of the night. I know Michael Thomas was asking about this. I'm just using somebody else's title to kind of lift off on mine. So the Superman movie has come out. I watched it today, which is why I'm kind of behind. I feel like I'm behind the 8 ball because the movie, saw a 2:00 showing, got out at 4:30, came home, did the review, got ready for the show, all that kind of stuff. Now, my rating system is good, bad, or indifferent, right? You can be really good, really bad, or just indifferent. Indifferent is probably the worst score I can give you because not to be memorable is the worst, right? The opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is indifference. But I'm going to use this headline to kind of take off. See what I did there on this one. So from Forbes, Eric Kane, Superman movie review, James Gunn reboot is painfully mediocre, super generic mess of a movie. I don't think it's that. I think it's good. If you don't want to wait too long, it is an enjoyable film. It's not very good. It's not an amazing, fantastic. It's not as good as the first Superman movie, the first Richard Donner movie. But it is good, meaning, and I'm going to step back. I am not a Superman hardcore fan. I don't know the lore behind Superman. So I know Nerdrotic had a blistering review because he just thought it was really bad. He thought it was painfully just generic. Because he's a huge Superman guy. He used to run a comic book shop. That's why we love Nerdrotic, because he knows his stuff. I'm giving you the review as a guy who enjoys films, has a little bit of knowledge of Superman just from pop culture, and is just trying to give you an overall idea. Should you spend your money to go to the theater? The film is enjoyable. David Cornsweet is a very good Superman. He looks the part. He says the lines with conviction. And I think he does his best with the material he's given. Is he as good as Henry Cavill? No, but Henry Cavill's tough in my opinion, he's tough to beat. But Cornsweet does his best, and I think he stands on his own. So there's no problem with that. Rachel Brosnahan is a great Lois Lane, as Nerdrotic pointed out, and others pointed out. She probably has the most to work with in this film. So she's pretty good. The rest of the cast, and this is the problem, too many ensemble pieces, and it gets over stuff like Nathan Fillion and the Justice Gang. They were fine, but the movie could have been done completely without them. Um, right? Or the people at the Daily Planet outside of Lois, like Jimmy Olsen, all of his scenes could have gotten cut, and you could have given all that to Lois and her reporting. So that there's a problem with that. Are they bad? No, but they're just kind of overstuffed in that regard. Now, as far as the feel, I know Michael Thomas. Wow, we're quoting Doomcock on this show. That's impressive. Big fan of the DC. Um, but it does look beautiful. I enjoyed the visual and the feel, what they were going for. This movie does very well in that regard. It absolutely hits it out of the park when you're trying to find a nice, bright, enjoyable summer blockbuster. And I know if you've been listening to my movie reviews for the last couple weeks, I keep hammering home the fact that I'm enjoying the visuals returning to an actual color spectrum and not gray, green, black, and blue, which Marvel had just saturated everything, and everybody took their cues from that for about 4 or 5 years. Every film looked like it was gray, black, green, or blue, or some gross, or maybe some kind of like weird hue of orange. Now we have a bright, colorful, universe to get into, and yeah, it's fine. It's a very good time. You should, if you were choosing between Jurassic World, this, and Fantastic Four to spend your money, because I know the average person goes like 2 or 3 films a year. I would spend the time going here. I will give you the caveat that if you are worried about swearing, they use the word for dog poop a lot, or they use the word for poop a lot. um way for a family movie. I'm like, oh, that's a seventh time you've used it. They use one GD, which I was not very happy about, and that's it as far as swearing. So outside of that, it's pretty family friendly. I had a bunch of kids in my screening. They were fine. You know, kids are kids. I don't get too worried about it. But they were like oohing and awing at the movements and the action, which this movie is absolutely it's made for families. It's made for families, and I'm happy to see that it should do well the opening weekend. You know, the comic book community, the YouTube community, the critical drinkers, the Doomcocks, the Nerdrotics, the Jeremy Johns, all great, amazing film, Valiant Renegade. They're all amazing film reviewers, better than I am. But they're all, I think they're being too hard on the film, because it is what it is. For Nerdrotic, I get it. This is like one of his favorites. So it's like when they make a bad Punisher movie, I get mad. Or when they made the sloppy 2003 Daredevil movie, which, by the way, the director's cut is much better. I get it. I get it when the guy, the superhero that you liked, or the comic character you liked, isn't done justice. You're like, what am I doing here? So I understand that. But you have to take a step back. This movie is to do two things. It's supposed to be generic in a sense that it's got to appeal to as many people as possible. Because James Gunn, I know he says, oh, the movie doesn't have to make this much. It does. It's got to make as much money as possible, because it's got to launch the entire DC extended universe. It hinges off of the success and the popularity of this film. So it's got to be generic. It's got to be safe. There's no wokeism. There's no messaging. If you're looking for it, and I think if you're looking for it, James Gunn, because he is a lefty, his ideology seeps in. What do I mean? He doesn't overtly write stuff in, but there's stuff if you're looking for it, because we all write or talk, or we always include our biases in whatever we do. It's part of who our identity is. And it kind of seeps in a little bit. It's not overpowering. It's not terrible. It's just there. It's just there. And you can get mad at it, or you can just sit back. I'm not going to say shut up and enjoy the pretty colors, but it's excuse me. It's a popcorn movie for what it is. So once again, my rating score is good, indifferent, or bad. It's good. Is it really good? No. Is it? It's good. That's all I can really say. And I think that's kind of what people are saying. It's good, which is it's better than it's bad, or it's better than it's just so mind-numbingly forgetful. So it does what it needs to do. So that's it, it's fine. The script's pretty tight. There's a couple things that get left off. You may get annoyed with the way that they write mom and pa Kent. Um, but that's just you kind of just have to gloss over. It's not insulting. It's just how writers in LA think the rest of the country are. So once again, good, bad, or indifferent, it's good. So not very good, but it's good. Let me see here. I will respond to this. Let me see. From Crotchety Elder, did I see that ICE and Chicago PD are dropping the use of the SIG P320? I did, because SIG is trash. I'm kidding. I know the SIG people are going to get mad at me. You're like, you're a Ruger guy. Ruger's awful. Whatever, maybe. But my gun doesn't shoot people in the crotch. I will say this. The SIG P320 issue is so bad that SIG has asked New Hampshire for amnesty. Let me see. SIG asks New Hampshire for protection. Let me see if that works. Yes. Check this out. I don't know if you've seen this, Crotchety. I'll bring this up on the screen. So check this out, Crotchety Elder. Facing a wave of 320 lawsuits, SIG asks for immunity, and New Hampshire granted it. So it's absolutely crazy. No, Walter's its own thing. Ruger bought Anderson Manufacturing, and Ruger bought Marland and Winchester. They don't. Walter is its own stuff. Not yet. Walter's still independent. But SIG ran to New Hampshire for immunity, and New Hampshire gave it to him because it's one of the few like industries in New Hampshire. So it doesn't shock me. Back in April, over the past few years, the Newington-based Sig Sauer has been sued dozens of times by gun owners. Sig has denied this and has been fighting in court, but over the past few weeks, the company has used its influence as one of the state's largest manufacturers to change New Hampshire law to protect itself from future liability lawsuits. If that doesn't get... Immunity is immunity. The fact that they're running... Michael, it's not that they're looking for immunity. It's the fact that, in my view, immunity is a sign of admission. If you're running to get immunity from something, that means you have something to hide. So that's what I mean. Yeah, it's still immunity. The fact that they're still running to get immunity from anybody that would grant it tells me that they know their gun is trash. I'm indifferent. To be completely honest, I'm indifferent on them. Not good, not bad. So there is what it is. Yes, Glocks, blah, blah, blah. I kid. I have every Glock clone. I just don't run Glocks out of principle. So yeah. So the SIG SIG boys are coping today pretty hard with their because they're always like, SIGs are so great. They're fine. They're not as great as anybody else, but it is what it is. Right now is the time to talk to Bondi. She'll probably give him a deal, especially since they're contracted with the military. So Steyr, I've never run one, but I hear they're fine if it runs well for you. H&K, really expensive for what you're getting. I don't know what the hype is, but people like them. So I have no beef with H&K. It's just way out of my price range for that. The only H&K I like is the MP5, which I think is everybody's default favorite. All right, guys, that's it for this episode of RickCast. Please do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell so you know when the show goes live or when the show drops. Like tomorrow, it will drop 6 p.m. Central Time. It will be a recording. because I will be doing, I have some gun training that somebody asked me to do with them tomorrow between 4 and 6, which I'm happy to do. I just won't be able to do the show live. And so the show will be current. It will be that, I gotta stop doing that. It will be this day's news. It just won't be live. All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me here on RickCast. Do me a favor, drop those likes on the way out. You guys did a great job tonight. As always, my bar rats. God bless, and until that day comes, free Dexter Taylor.